It is pretty funny that Stonewall got the biggest cheer. I mean, the poor people of Selma and Seneca Falls, the factory workers, the gays have taken over.
Kamala Harris threw the first brick. That's what I say. That's what I say. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Speech Center. This is it, folks. We are just days away from the election, and it is a nail biter. It's like getting to Game 7 of the World Series, which Game 4 is tonight, isn't it? Oh, the Yankees won last night? Oh, damn it. Go Mets. Am I right, Tim?
Sure, Mets. Yeah.
Joining us once again is Tim Miller. Tim, tell us how you're feeling right now.
I'm feeling anxious, John. I have to say, I'm a puker. I don't usually puke for no reason. And I vomited for literally no reason yesterday morning. I woke up, I had a quad shot latte, so maybe one reason, and then I immediately vomited it up. And I think that was my body telling me that I have some unresolved anxiety about the election.
Trust your body, Tim. Trust your body, Tim. On today's show, Kamala Harris delivers an epic closing argument in D.C., and Michelle Obama sends a very strong message to men. Meanwhile, Trump and Vance respond to the fallout of their rally at Madison Square Garden by claiming the country is a garbage can and that everyone gets offended too easily. First up, it's been a minute, but let's check in with JD Vance, remember him, who responds to a question about whether calling Puerto Rico trash and Harris the Antichrist was the right tone to set a week before the election.
I think a lot of Americans are sick of the distractions and sick of the BS. They want our candidates to talk about how they're going to solve the people's problems, and that's what we ought to do. I've heard about the joke. I haven't actually seen the joke that you mentioned, but I think that it's telling that Kamala Harris's closing message is essentially that all of Donald Trump's voters are Nazis, and you should get really pissed off about a comedian telling a joke. That is not the message of a winning campaign. And most importantly, it's not the message of a person who's fit to be the president of the United States of America. Maybe it's a stupid racist joke, as you said. Maybe it's not. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to comment on the specifics of the joke. But I think that we have to stop getting so offended at every little thing in the United States of America. I'm so over it.
Not that over it, because 24 hours later, he's on the opposite side of that argument, taking offense at Joe Biden's misstatement, which made the rounds. JD Vance now will only really take questions from the press with his supporters behind him. He basically stands at the podium where he gave his speech. He takes questions from the enemy of the people behind him, and then he has this amen chorus cheering him on as he basically takes on the press. I actually think it's a smart thing for him to do. I don't know about the press participating in it. What do you think about that aspect of it?
Yeah, you don't have to hand it to ISIS, but sometimes they get someone right. It's a good strategy. I'm also not sure about the press participating in it. It feels like a humiliation ritual for them.
Yeah, it's a show trial.
I'm not sure they're getting anything out of it. You're giving JD the final cut on this, right? And letting him dunk on you and everybody cheer about it. I think he's in his element. He's trying on all these different personas, right? Because we don't really know where the real JD is.
Yeah.
Deep down under there. The guy with the braces that was only friends with girls and hung out in the girls' bathroom. Where the real JD is in there. And this one is not a real skin either. The whole thing, I haven't seen the video. It's you're the most online person ever to run for vice president. You've seen it, okay?
You have Rick Scott backing away from these comments. You have Trump saying, I'd never heard of this guy. I don't know who this guy is. By the time you get to the next day, JD Vance goes in the other direction, taking gross offense at an offhand comment from, I believe his name is Joe Biden. I haven't actually heard it pronounced Biden. Do you know how to say it? Biden? I haven't seen it. I remember him, but Next up, we go to Donald Trump at his Mar-a-Lago press conference where he refutes that MSG was a Nazi rally and instead claims that it was basically Woodstock 69.
I don't think anybody has ever seen anything like what happened the other night at Madison Square Garden. The love in that room. Politicians that have been doing this for a long time, 30 and 40 years, said there's never been an event so beautiful. It was like a love fest. They started to say, well, in 1939, the Nazis used Madison Square Garden. Well, and you know what? But can you imagine that? In 1939, the Nazis, they would. But how terrible to say, right? Because, you know, they've used Madison Square Garden many times. Many people have used it, but nobody's ever had a crowd like that. And I tell you what, right now, nobody's ever had love like that. That was love in the room, and it was love for our country.
Here's something that I actually realized I didn't know the answer to. Did a woman speak at the Madison Square Garden rally?
Yeah, unfortunately, I suffered through it all. So Elise, my old friend, my old colleague, actually, Elise Stefanik spoke. Melania spoke. Eric's wife spoke second, though. They went up together, and Eric got to speak. And then she was like, do I get to say anything? And it was kind of a creepy vibe.
Have you noticed that Ivanka is missing?
I find Ivanka so repellent in every conceivable way. There's nothing that I hate more than the Javanko was in the room trying to save us from the worst. And so it's like, I guess on one hand, it is true that he has his worst family members around him, just like he will have his worst advisors around him and his worst generals around him. And so there's something to be said for that, about what to look for in a second term.
We'll talk about Michelle Obama in a bit, but one thing she said in her speech is that she's pretty tired of people looking past Trump's failures and inadequacies while expecting Kamala Harris to dance on the head of a pin. Nothing Donald Trump does matter. It's so hard for anything that comes from Trump to influence people. People have baked into the stock price how awful he is. But clearly, they don't believe that about this rally. They are worried about the fallout from this rally. And I think that's a good sign, right? They may posture and claim that they don't feel that way, but they are not happy with the outcome of the press around the rally.
The strategy here was so stupid. Like what Trump said about that love fest, if it was just like, if he just had a couple people play the guitar and then had Melania talk and then him, like it would have basically been true, right? Like the people in the crowd were really happy to be there. Trump's speech was weird, but on the Trump scale, it was just his stump speech, right?
Yeah.
Like he didn't say anything particularly offensive besides like his baseline level of offensiveness, right? It was just a total strategic disaster to put that line of men and the clown show and all the freaks and Stephen Miller doing the Fuhrer, America is only for Americans and the Volk, putting them out there, like that was a total self-own.
Putting him in Coachella, in New York, they're going to New Mexico, they're going to Virginia. Look, we may wake up on election day or the day after and realize, wow, the Trump campaign had access to some data that showed them something the rest of the world didn't see. But still, it doesn't seem to be a precise strategy for winning the election. All right, let's move on to something far more hopeful. Here's Michelle Obama in Kalamazoo, Michigan, telling male voters how much is at stake.
But to anyone out there thinking about sitting out this election or voting for Donald Trump or a third-party candidate in protest because you're fed up, let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. So let us use our voices in these final days to make it plain to the men in our lives that we need to stand not with Trump, but with us. We need them to vote for the only candidate in this race who will protect our lives. We need them to vote for Kamala Harris.
She's great. We can do this because we're gay, right? Just as a quick aside, that's a great jacket.
Great jacket. She looks fucking great. Butt up at IK News. She looked fucking fantastic.
The content was also good. You can feel the genuine passion and anger. Frankly, the only thing that's missing for me that Michelle Obama's probably not the right person for. The Democrats just need like one bro-y senator, who can go around being like, dude, you ready to be a dad, bro? I don't think you're ready to be a dad, bro. If you want to just have a couple of fucking beers after the frat party and things get a little frisky, you sure you're ready to be a dad? Like, I'd like to have that message out there a little better, and the Democrats don't really feel like they have anybody who's capable of delivering it.
It was a reminder to me that I think sometimes like the hardest job of being a speechwriter is just sitting down and trying to compose like the most exquisite, specific, and direct, truthful argument that is also politically useful. That's the challenge, right? There are true statements that are not helpful. There are politically helpful statements that are not. particularly true or don't resonate with a deeper truth that people feel. But when you can put those two things together, like that's to me what made it such an extraordinary speech. And the way she weaves in problems around healthcare for women, healthcare for Black women, the inability to be honest or open about the challenges that women face, how it relates to what Donald Trump would do. I just thought it was an extraordinarily well-made speech, and I was just blown away by it. Hey everybody, Speech Center is brought to you by Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It is a device that measures your metabolism through your breath, and on the app it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do is take this Lumen here and you breathe into it first thing in the morning, and then you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fat or mostly carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for the day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time, and Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into the fuel that keeps you going. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health. A lot of people at Crooked have been using Lumen. GC is here. He's used the Lumen. Sometimes, you're working really hard. You have a lot on your mind. It's hard to stay disciplined. And one thing that can really help you stay on track with whatever you're trying to do, could be losing weight, could be gaining muscle, it could be just being healthier, it could be getting more sleep. It's having some way to measure it so you can see your progress over time, and Lumen can help you do that. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/speech to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/speech for 15% off your purchase. Thank you to Lumen for sponsoring this episode. It's time for the big one. Let's go to Kamala Harris's closing argument. Here's how she puts Trump's enemy from within rhetoric to bed.
And the fact that someone disagrees with us does not make them the enemy within. That's right. They are family,
Trash.
neighbors, classmates, co-workers. They are fellow Americans. And as Americans, we rise and fall together. It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict, the fear and division. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
Let's go.
And I am ready to offer that leadership as the next President of the United States of America.
Joe Biden.
How's this race close?
Yeah, how is this race close, man? Joe Biden pops up and say, also, some Americans are garbage. Bye. How is this race close? How is this race close? Well, we know how it is.
I know. That wasn't a legitimate question. It was a rhetorical comment on how wonderful she was. And it's just like, what are we doing here? America, what are we doing here? She looks great. And it's a good message. Is it true?
That what?
It's for others to decide.
What?
Is what she said about our fellow Americans. Is that true? We'll learn a little bit more about that question next week. Because as you pointed out earlier, it's important for a speech to be persuasive and true and speak to a deeper truth. I hope that the second part is true. We all remember this. I mean, hell, you and me probably did it on the first Speech Center. After she takes the gig, it's like, are people going to see her as presidential? You know what I mean? Like, this was a legit worry at the beginning, right? Like, will people buy her as a president? Like, was that first bar that she had to clear? And she just clears it with flying colors immediately. And then now you see a speech like that, and it's like, it's kind of crazy to think it was just 2 months ago that people were like, will she even be plausible, passable?
Well, by the way, I do think it won't show up in any polls. It's very hard to measure. But I do think that there is such value to having her in this dramatic, flag-strewn White House behind her, Washington Monument in front of her, setting
Freedom signs.
Freedom, because she looks presidential. Your question, is it true? You joked about it. Why is this race close? What does it say about us? And I do think it says something dark. I think it is absolutely true that there are too many people that are open to kind of politics of Donald Trump. But Donald Trump isn't just a symptom, right? By choosing Donald Trump, being exposed to Donald Trump, being told that Donald Trump is acceptable, right, he becomes a cause. And I do think that's a bit of a vicious circle of the last 10 years. The hope has to be that in time, craven, valueless, ideology-free, ambitious Republicans who want power for its own sake to fill the holes in their heart will start to sound different because it's in their interest. That, to me, is the path out. What do you think?
I don't know, man. Yeah, sure. I mean, Donald Trump losing, and God willing, that woman that gave that speech there, the vice president, is the next president. She kicks his ass next week, God willing. And I do think it would be better to have him away than to have him in our lives. And I think that he is a cause of some of this. But, man, I mean, I just think that we have some very, very deep structural problems that it's gonna take a long time to recover from. And I think that there is a bottom-up element to this that is driving more than the top-down. But the top-down's driving some.
Yeah, I think that's true. And by the way, it doesn't matter if we lose, because some mistakes, the door is open behind you, some doors lock behind you, and there's a door that locks behind us. And so in that spirit, let's hear Harris's closing moments with her message.
Oh, good. I liked the closing moments. I thought we were done. I thought you were going to end the speech center with the locking door behind us.
No, I'm not. We got a little bit of hope coming your way.
Fucking burnt orange Trump's makeup on my smearing us.
And those who came before us, the patriots at Normandy and Selma, Seneca Falls and Stonewall, on farmlands and factory floors. They did not struggle, sacrifice, and lay down their lives only to see us cede our fundamental freedoms. They didn't do that only to see us submit to the will of another petty tyrant. These United States of America, we are not a vessel for the schemes of wannabe dictators. The United States of America is the greatest idea humanity ever devised.
We are not a vessel for the schemes of wannabe dictators, Tim. We are not.
Or petty tyrants.
Or petty
really
fucking
good.
tyrants.
I mean,
really
that was the part that was trying to get me up off the couch, make it move for me a little bit, stir my soul. It is pretty funny that Stonewall got the biggest cheer. I mean, the poor people of Selma and Seneca Falls, the factory workers. Yeah. So the gays have taken over. The gay agenda, it is officially in the firmament.
Kamala Harris threw the first brick. That's what I say. Yeah, I was really moved by that. And I will say, to be reflective, 10 years into Donald Trump, we learned a lot about people. We did. We learned about the Liz Cheneys of the world and the Sarah Longwells and the Tim Millers of the world. That, I think, is a value, right? Like, I will love nothing more than to watch in the days after what Elon Musk fucking does as he implodes if Donald Trump loses, right? Like, that will be very fucking satisfying. But
okay, I'm not letting myself get there.
I'm not either. But this is the point I was going to make, which is I don't know how much energy I have for Schadenfreude. I want us to figure out how to move on. And if that happens to come with Donald Trump being frog marched in fucking handcuffs, I won't look away. But I just want the war to be over. That's how I feel right now. In this week before the election, look, it is a close race, but I'd rather be Kamala Harris than Donald Trump right now. How do you feel, Tim?
I would too, but just in the most narrow manner, and only just because she has a clear path to 270 through the upper Midwest, through the blue wall. There's no real evidence that Trump has cracked it in any data, in any anecdote. That said, unbelievably close. You started it by saying it's a nail biter, and I guess, I don't know, SpeechCenter isn't really poker, but to use a poker analogy, like, he has 3 outs. He has 3 outs on the river card here in one of those states, and I wish he didn't have any outs. So that makes me a little nervous, but I'd still rather be her than him.
If you are hearing this on Friday or Saturday, please, please, please get in your car. Go to Vote Save America, put in where you live. There's a place where you can drive right now to knock on doors. Right now, get in your car. Take this phone, put it in your pocket, get in your car, and go. We need everybody on the doors this final weekend. Republicans don't have a field operation. They're counting on people blowing up election ballots and then challenging the fucking election after it's over. We have a field organization, and it could make the difference. So do everything you can at votesaveamerica.com, and like, subscribe, leave a comment for us at Speech Center. We will see you on the other side. Tim Miller, Pirate Radio at the Bulwark.
Go Nuggets. Go Kamala. We'll see y'all soon.